Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us here today on OWL TV. My name is Maria Flynn. I'm the creator of OneWiseLife.com and the Facebook page owner of One Wise Life. This is our weekly program, OWL TV, where today we're going to be talking about getting the results you want in life. And my beautiful co-host and friend, an elite high performance coach, Lauren Jono, is with us to answer your questions. And before we get started, we're going to talk a little bit about why we're doing the show, what we'd like you to hopefully get out of the show, and always feel free to write in the chat room the questions. You have a coach right here, completely accessible to you. Ask away. We want to see those questions.
Use and abuse.
Use and abuse. Lauren's, I've said this before, Lauren is an elite high performance coach, one of less than 300 people around the world with the kind of certified coaching that she has behind her that supports her and delivers so much profound, beautiful information, guidance. Definitely utilize this time. One of the things that One Wise Life does, and one of the founding principles of One Wise Life, is to organically enter people's lives with purposeful, valuable information to help you tap into your own wisdom, help you create the life you love, that help you take a moment to pause and go, you know what? This is something I might be able to do. This is something I could incorporate. And I hope that you walk away at the end of this half hour with something you can take away and incorporate into your life and start creating what it is that you're destined to create. So I'll start off the show by saying that today's meditation and success, the universe really showed up in full force today, for me anyway, starting with Stephen's request for us to write a goal, the fact that you contributed this article about success for this week, and I talk about parenting, and I talk about being an example of success, that as much as we teach our children, really ourselves as parents are instruments of success. We are instruments that teach them by our actions, by what we do, and that by living anything shy of what we're meant to do is not giving back in the greatest good kind of way for your children and for the world, for that matter. Today on my newsfeed, it even showed up on my Facebook newsfeed, talked about do something so great that people want to imitate you. You know, that this is what you're doing. That the path to success is painful, and to be okay with that, and to get comfortable with the uncomfortable of success, and that pain is temporary, to remind ourselves is that. We've talked about these last few weeks over on One Wise Life how 2015 was full of struggle for a lot of people. There was a lot of dips in 2015. In 2016, we set goals, and then we were hit with Mercury retrograde, which really prompted us to look and evaluate our relationships, our communication, who we are, what we're about. And as soon as that was done, we welcomed the summer solstice with a full moon, where we talked about letting go of things over on One Wise Life, and to now take action to creating the life you want. And more important, to recognize the power of consistency. So whatever action you choose, that it's something that you can be consistent with, because it's in that consistency, daily, small actions consistently will eventually take you to great and powerful change. However, today I really want to talk more about the results, and to look at success and the results that you want in your life, and to remember that the path there is not an easy one. It is tough to stick with it. To think about the flower that chooses to bloom in the cracks of the cement. You're that flower, and that's what it feels like. That cement is pushing you down. Don't make decisions. Don't take your life in the direction of mediocrity, so just because it's comfortable for you or comfortable for the people around you. To really look at success, recognize it for the uncomfortableness that it is, and that uncomfortableness is temporary, and it's a part of stretching that comfort zone. So with that, Lauren, I'm gonna let it off, bring it over to you, and I want you to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, one, let us know what you think about what I just said. If you could give me some feedback, but most important, the importance of personal responsibility. That it really comes down to personal responsibility. I'd like your take on that.
Okay, so well, first of all, I think for everyone who's watching this, you've taken a level of personal responsibility, because obviously you're here because you recognize there's something more that you want, that you want more success, or you want to know how to get more success. So way to go for all of you who are here, because that's, that first step to personal responsibility is awareness, is being brave enough to have the courage to look at what's going on. You know, it's so easy to point fingers. Well, I'm not doing this, or I don't have this because I don't have the resources, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the connections, you know. But really at the end of the day, is to look inward, because, you know, as Maria said earlier, everything that you need is in you. You may need people to help you to see it, to find it, but at the end of the day, you do have it in you. And the only person that can take responsibility and manage the path that you're on is you. If you are not going to take responsibility, then you have to be kind of willing to accept what the wind blows at you, and you know, and be reactive. But that is not going to serve you and help you in getting where you want. And, you know, one thing I always share with my clients is, you know, it may be uncomfortable where you are. It may be uncomfortable where you're going, but which would you rather have? You know, the uncomfortableness that's keeping you stuck, or the uncomfortableness of taking responsibility, moving forward, learning new things, overcoming challenges, but that's taking you closer to where you want to be. And to me, like, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I find, which has been so true for me, and I see it with my clients, is that when you get clear on where you want to be, and you understand why that is important to you now, whether that's the ultimate goal of what you want to achieve, or even whether it's something in the short term. But when you have absolute clarity on that, and when you understand why that's important, then those challenges and obstacles that come up as you take responsibility to get there, don't seem as big.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, it's just another day on the journey. It's not like stopping you dead in your tracks and, oh my gosh, like, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this. And then you kind of sit on the side and bail out.
Yeah. So, well, you in the article that you wrote, you talked about one of the main things that you can do to start recognizing and seeing your results is to review your results regularly. Mm-hmm. That, you know, while it's important to look at the big picture, you know, to know what that vision is, it takes small steps to get there, and to recognize and to take time out to review those results regularly. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more we need to be aware of what's going on. And it's, you know, it's kind of like I learned this, I'm learning to play golf, right? So my new sport. And so, you know, if you think about it, when you're hitting that ball, right? If it even goes a fraction of an inch, if you hit it just off and it keeps going off, how far off it's going to end from the tee where you want it? So if you course correct more often, then you can minimize how far off you go. And that's the thing. It's the tiniest shift in direction that can take you way off course. Yeah. Right? It's not like a total, like, you know, huge, like, fall in the ditch kind of thing. Right. That's taking you off. It's the tiny adjustments that, if not caught and not paid attention to, can totally then end up in completely opposite of where you want to be. And so if you're not constantly reflecting, if you're not constantly assessing how you're doing, then that's the potential of what's going to happen. And I think
love that. I love what you say that, because as you're talking, not only do visiting your results regularly every day prevent you possibly from going way off course, but it helps you even refine your bigger vision more. And you can start to make adjustments about that bigger vision of what you're trying to accomplish, because sometimes you can start out with that big vision.
Absolutely.
But I think you need to be flexible as you're learning. Mm-hmm. In the steps that you take before that, you're learning more too. So that you definitely want to adjust maybe what that big vision is. Yeah, thank you for that. That was a big aha moment for me just now.
Yeah, because as you say, as you take action, you learn, you gain experience, you gain skills, you gain knowledge, you gain insight. And so as you head down that road, you may realize, you know what, I kind of want to shift to this lane and not be in this lane. Yeah. And that's okay. But don't you want to make that shift sooner down the road than further?
Yeah.
And so it's also being and staying open to the possibility of how things are going to play out. So you want to be taking action, you want to be in the game, but you also want to be open to other things that may come up that may take you in a better or faster direction.
Okay.
If we stay so focused that it has to look a certain way and only one way, then we possibly miss out on opportunities around us.
Yeah. Your second point is to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the quote that you added there. I'll just say the quote. Attack the evil that is within yourself rather than attacking the evil that is in others. And that's what Confucius said. I love that quote that you put in there. So can you expand on the importance of taking responsibility as you look for results in what it is that you want to achieve?
Yeah, and it kind of leads in because I think part of why people don't like to reassess or don't like to check in often is because then there is that kind of given that you can't claim ignorance is bliss, right? Now you know what you know, and so there's more of a responsibility to take action.
Right.
And so, at the end of the day, who do you want driving your bus? Like, I know, like, even it sounds crazy, but when we go out on the weekend and I like to drive, because then if I want to go in this lane, I can go in this lane. If I want to go a different route, I can go a different route, right? So it's kind of like that in life. Who do you want driving your bus?
Right.
And if you want to drive, then you need to take responsibility to watch the road, to make sure there's gas in the tank, to see what's going on around you so you don't crash and end up in the ditch. You need to do that. But wouldn't you rather be that person managing that than sitting in the passenger seat and wherever you end up, you end up?
Yeah. We have one question in the chat room that says, how should we make a choice between A or B? And I can tell you, I'm not a coach, and I don't know what your name is. It says @CDust97. Let's see if I can. No, it doesn't let me see what your name is, unfortunately. If you want to type your name in, I won't call you CDust97, but that's the question. How should we make a choice between A or B? And I can tell you sort of what I would do, and then Lauren will give you her response. As an intuitive, I always tell people to pay attention to the feeling because the feeling is energy. And when you have two choices in front of you, one will always feel a little better. Sometimes you'll be stuck between a rock and a hard place where they're both difficult decisions, but nonetheless, one of the two tough decisions will always feel slightly better. And the one that feels slightly better is the road to take, in my opinion. And sometimes it might be neither. That might be an option too, neither. Would you like to answer that one too?
Yeah, sure. So I think, there are a couple of ways to look at that. If there's a choice between A and B, if you find yourself always going for the easier choice, you're probably not stepping up and taking responsibility, because, there's often two choices and typically one is an easier route than the other. But it's often the more challenging route where there seems to be more obstacles, that's the one that's going to get you where you really want to go. But a quick strategy that I share with my clients in making decisions is to look at 4 different things. One is, as Maria said, listen to your heart, listen to your intuition. What is your body telling you? What are the feelings that you're getting about that? That's huge. But the other thing is also to pay attention to logic, because sometimes what feels good and what we want to do isn't necessarily the responsible thing to do given our circumstances. So you have to pay attention to logic as well. And then the third thing is looking at impact. What is the impact of the decision going to be for you, for your family, for your community, for the world? And are you okay with that? And then the fourth is about growth. Is this something that is going to allow you to grow, your business to grow, your community to grow? What's the level of growth? And look at all 4 of those. And I think when you do that, you will make the most informed possible decision. And sometimes the only way to know is to jump in and take action and see. And then you'll see, is this what I want? Is this going to take me closer to where I want to be or not? So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and if it's one thing that we know for sure, that we know for sure is that change is always available to you. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
always change, always happens. If there's one constant, is that there's change. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to explore new avenues for sure. I think when we behave in an exploratory way, in an adventurous way, we learn so much more. And we do stretch our comfort zone that way. Shots of Positivity. Sean's here. Sean is the person who's behind Shots of Positivity. He joins me on my Facebook Live almost every morning, and I love
Hey,
it.
Sean.
He's a perfect example of not just sharing positivity in the world, but he stays engaged. And that's so important. Even as somebody who the purpose between One Wise Life, onewiselife.com, it's also for me. It's a way for me to stay engaged and invest my time for myself, for the greater good, with the connections of people that I'm making over on that community of Facebook. And Shots of Positivity does the exact same thing. He expands on what it is that we're trying to do, which I appreciate. In your article, you also talk about, and you briefly touched upon this a little bit earlier. You talked about reassessing your options and remain open to new possibilities. So that's an extension of a little bit of what this question was about, the choices that you make. But that's so important too, because sometimes, just personally, when I make decisions, they might feel really, really wrong. But the more I tune in and explore why I took that decision, I've also done so much learning that it empowers me so much more before I make the next step.
Mm.
So I love that. So can you expand on your point here about reassessing your options and remain open to new possibilities?
So it's kind of just, it's that notion of not being stubborn, I guess, you know, and even though you're doing something, it may be working well, it may be good, doesn't mean that there isn't something better. It doesn't mean that you can't learn something new from someone else. And to get the ego out of the way and be okay with, you know, going along and going, wow, here's someone who has a different solution that can maybe help me get there faster, do it better. So it's kind of getting that ego out the way and being open to learning from other people. And then the other thing I wanted to say, it's just slipped my mind. What was it? Staying open to possibility. I don't know, I'll have to come back to it.
Okay. Well, you know, that sort of naturally leads, when you're open to possibility, then you now brings you to your next very logical point, which is your response. How do you respond? And you talk about creating a long-term plan as well as the imperfect action. I guess those are the small things, those small bumpy roads in between that happen before the big picture. So definitely expand on that one for me. I love get in the game. That's what you say in your article.
Okay. So before we get in the game, I remembered what I wanted to say. And that is, you know, in terms of taking responsibility, staying open to options, is to have that faith that things are happening the way they are meant to be. I'm such a big believer in that things are happening for you and not to you. And, you know, we're always able to connect the dots afterwards. And afterwards, we always see, oh, now I see why that happened. I'm so grateful that happened. But when we're in the moment, we kind of lose that perspective. And so if we can keep that perspective of that faith that we'll figure it out, that things are happening for our better good, even though it may not seem like that in the moment, I think that will help along the way as well.
Right.
And then to the point of getting in the game, you know, you're not going to get better on the sidelines. You know, if you think about sports or anything that you built a skill at, the only way you built that skill was by getting out there and practicing and doing it and falling on your face and sucking at it. And, you know, but if you stuck with it, and that's how you got better. You have to get in the game. You have to get on the field.
I think so many times, so many people, and I'm definitely guilty of this because I am a Capricorn and this happens. You know, I am definitely a detail-oriented person. And one of my biggest learning lessons in my path to growth is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be perfect to get in the game. It can be sloppy. You can just jump in and figure it out later. I think Richard Branson, who says, if you're given an amazing opportunity, even if you don't know anything about it, do it anyway. Just say yes. And those have been the greatest, most fun parts of the adventure, is just saying yes, even though I've had no experience, nothing other than just sharp tongue, sharp brain, sharp wit, and a good smile maybe has taken me further. But those times that I've chosen to jump in without worrying about the details, and as sloppy as it's been the most adventurous, the most biggest learning curves for myself that has helped formulate the bigger picture of what it is that I'm here to do. It's helped me really tune in and fine-tune what it is that I'm here to accomplish. So I think that's important. And the last point that you talk about is rejoicing. And I love this because, again, and the reason I love this article is because I'm at fault for not stopping to do this enough. So yeah, let's talk about the importance of celebrating.
Oh my gosh, it is so important, because if we don't acknowledge those little wins, if we don't acknowledge and take in those little accomplishments along the way, then we are not going to build our confidence. That's how we build our confidence. That's how we build our courage, is by seeing, wow, I got through this first step. Therefore I can get through the next step. If I could be resourceful in this situation, if I could, just stick with the discipline in this situation, then there's no reason that I can't do it going ahead. But if we don't take the time to recognize the accomplishments, to recognize where we've come from, then it's going to hold us up.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to find your way to celebrate. Like, what is that? Is it just acknowledging it and just soaking it in? Is it sharing it with someone? Is it, going out and treating yourself to something? But it is so important to integrate those successes, no matter how small they may seem to you, because to me, it's all those little successes along the way that lead to that big success. If you think of it, Al is now at 150,000 followers, I think. But everyone sees that, but they don't. Right. But if you hadn't celebrated the 10 followers, the 1,000 followers, then would you have had the courage to keep moving forward? And so that's so important.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think from the energetic perspective, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. And for me, the way I feel your message energetically is that we're expanding and adding in a very positive way what we want. Right? We're definitely we're the highlighters of our life. So as soon as one small action is moving you in the direction toward that, rejoicing in that simply just expands on what it is that we want. So that, for me, that's how I feel it. That's how my mind sees it.
And as you know, what we focus on is what we bring into our life. And so if we're always focusing on what we need, what we have to do, and obviously you do need to focus on that. But if that's where all the focus is, there's always going to feel that there's always going to be, I think, that feeling of that it's hard, that it's a long way, that it's tiring. So if we focus on the successes, if we acknowledge them, celebrate them, then you're going to see more of them in your life.
Yeah.
And so that journey, even though if you look at it from an objective point of view, even though the journey may not change, the feeling on that journey is going to change. And that's huge.
Do you think that it's more important, and I talked a little bit about this in my live this morning, that many successful people recognize that achieving the results they want, for the success that they want, success however defined by you, that they generally take the toughest pill first. They take the toughest challenge first. They sort of knock that off that list first. Do you think that's important, or do you think doing small, consistent steps is more important?
I think it's different for everyone. I think for some people, taking that big step, that first bigger step, it's going to be too overwhelming. And so they need to take the smallest steps to build their confidence, to build their security. So I think it's different for everyone, but on a day-to-day basis, given what you have to do, I encourage my clients to get the hardest thing done first, because otherwise it's weighing on you. So the whole day you're going through, oh my gosh, I still have to make that call. I still have to reach out to that person. And so you're not as focused and productive in what you are doing, because at the back of your mind, there's that thing that you still have to do. So to me, I always like to get those things done first thing in the day, then it's off your plate and you can be clear and focused on what else is coming. So I don't know if that helps, but
yeah, no, it does help. And you know, I talked a little bit, just a little bit off course here this morning. I talked about success on my live, and I talked about it being painful sometimes, and it can be, but that's okay. To stick with it, that you will have people that will make it even more uncomfortable for you, but stick with it anyway. And I always come back to Michael Beckwith's, Reverend Michael Beckwith's quote. I don't know if you ever have ever heard this one, that mediocrity always attacks excellence. So as you're taking action to create the life you want and you're starting to get the results, you're going to get the naysayers. You're going to get the people that are going to attack you, have opinions about you, that will fall away from you, that will have an excuse to be angry with you. Take that as a sign that you're on the right path, because you're doing two things. One, you're being an example of success, an example of possibilities. And by also being an example of possibility, you're also having people reflect within themselves about what they're not doing. And for me, when it comes to healing the world and giving back in the world, we must put our big girl and big boy pants on and get through that uncomfortable part and just get used to the fact that no matter how successful you are, whatever that is for you, that the path there will always have people that will make it uncomfortable, and to just keep going.
Yeah, because it's exactly what you said. The reason often people respond negatively or, try and, talk you out of what you're doing is because you've dusted off something in them that they didn't want dusted off. And now it's exposed. Yeah. And so for a lot of people, they'd rather bring you back to their comfort zone than step out of their own. Yeah. And so it's so true. It's about them. It's not about you. And you have to keep moving forward, because are you going to be that person that tries to pull everyone up, that tries to help everyone level up? Or you're going to be that person that caves in and goes back down to where as you say, where the averages are.
Right. I call it the mediocre lifestyle. And I use that word very purposely because I think it's important to recognize. And when I say that word, I feel it. For me, it's when I hear it, I'm like, ooh, I don't want mediocre. I don't think anybody's here to be mediocre. Yes, we have to do things day to day. We have to pay the bills. We have to go to work. But not 24 hours. There is time in the day. There is space that you can carve out to start the path of what it is that you want to do, to create that. And it can be. And I love the whole review your results regularly. I think that was the biggest impact for me from you today, as my takeaway from the show, in that by looking at those results regularly and the actions that we take, that I'm able to become even more refined and more clear about the bigger vision, about what it is that I want to accomplish. And I can also use that time to adjust the way I adjust, so I'm not totally off course. That was brilliant today. Thank you so much for that.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
I don't know if you got a takeaway today, because you did a lot of teaching today, but what was your...
Well, I think for me, the big reminder takeaway is that I don't believe that we are wired to want a mediocre life. I don't think we are wired to want to just be comfortable. And I think that's why, and we know that deep within us, we know that. That's why there's so much frustration amongst people. That's why people are frustrated. They're angry. They're irritated. They're depressed, whatever, because there's something in them that knows that there's more, and they even haven't made that connection, or they're not willing to take the steps. And so to know that if you have those feelings of frustration and irritation and whatever, that's a sign in itself, right? That you are seeking something more. So look for it. Yeah. Put yourself out there. Open up your eyes and see what it could be. Just explore. Go in with a curiosity, if nothing else.
Yes, yes. Those are signals, aren't they? That frustrate, why does this frustrate me? Why is this maddening? Why is this depressing? And I agree with you. I think we're wired to do great things, whether it's being a great mom, a great,
Absolutely.
entrepreneur, a great speaker, a great, whatever it is your greatness is. I think we are pre-wired to do something. And it's when we're frustrated that we feel thwarted. And when we feel thwarted, we're numb.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody wants to feel that. Nobody wants to be a zombie. It's fun to watch on TV, but nobody really wants to be a zombie. Okay. Well, that is the end of our show. It's 11:30. It's a half hour of jam-packed goodness. We will have this available as a replay. Thank you, Lauren, for being with me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
And thank you for everybody who's here. Oh, Dave Moore showed up.
Yeah, hey, Dave. Hey.
I love Dave Moore, as you know. He's one of my favorites. And we accept comfortability mediocre rather than take risk. Without risk, we will never achieve greatness.
Yep.
Amen, my friend. Yes, 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 1,000 times yes. And they don't have to be huge risks. Just get used to taking a risk. Just get used to that. Mine started out with a little Facebook page, and a couple of my friends liked it. And that happened back in November. And now we're at 150. We've got shows. We're touching lives. We're making connections. We're building community. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here and investing your time with us and engaging with us. So, Sean, thank you for being here, too.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I see Nikki was here, and Sadaus. I hope that we were able to answer your question. And as always, you can find us on onewiselife.com, over on Facebook at One Wise Life. I posted Lauren's page here, Lauren Jono, public figure, if you want to go check her out. You've always got great messages and information going out as well. And with that, have a brilliant, brilliant Thursday, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.